sports.
We are Black Horse. We are Florida.
On a Friday night in Atlanta, Braves and Marlins. This would be game 2. Braves a 1-run win, a wild one last night. And Turner Field is hopping tonight. Why? Why is everybody lined up so long? It's Alumni Weekend. Chipper Jones and all of the legends are back. Andrew Jones, Terry Pendleton, Brian Jordan, John Smoltz, Leo Mazzoni. They're all lined up. Tom Glavine is here as well. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz, another legend next to me. Tommy Hutton. This was fun to watch. The Braves legends were just out on the field. A lot of nostalgia here tonight.
Yeah, there really is. Actually saw a couple of old teammates announce, not with Atlanta, but then you also saw guys announce and you started thinking about plays they made. Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones, and things like that.
And I think a lot of these alumni are excited to see Jose Fernandez pitch, as are we.
You know what? As Jose went out to start his warm-ups, John Smoltz was standing at the end of the line. Jose went up, and I'm sure congratulated him. They had a quick chat. Very professional on Jose's part.
Last time he was in Atlanta, it was party time for the Marlins and Jose. This was one of his most dominant starts in the big leagues.
You talk about an outstanding ball game. You see the numbers that Jose put up. Alex Wood, the left-hander, pitched for the Braves. It was a fast game. He had that wipeout slider going. How about 14 strikeouts in the game? Jose's last 2 starts of 2014 against the Braves, 16 innings, 22 strikeouts, 2 walks, 5 hits, no runs. You see his overall numbers against Atlanta.
3-1 in 4 starts, and he's been dynamite so far this year. Julio Teheran historically has been really good against Miami.
Yeah, this 24-year-old has terrific stuff. He's been a little off and on this year, but in his 10 career starts against the Marlins, you see the numbers. He is also brilliant in this ballpark. At Turner Field, lifetime, 19-9 and a 2.70 ERA.
It was a run fest last night, 17 runs combined. Tonight, probably not. Jose Fernandez, Julio Teheran, the Fish, and the Braves from Atlanta. Let's Go Places by Hialeah Park Racing and Casino. For more information on our 2-year anniversary on August 14th and 15th, go to HialeahParkCasino.com. By Vico Painting Contractors. For top quality work and excellent customer satisfaction, visit VicoPainting.com. And by AutoNation. Save on over 70,000 vehicles now. Visit us online at AutoNation.com. Oh, wow. The Atlanta Aquarium, from beluga whales to whale sharks to just about everything you can imagine. Marlins and Braves on a Friday night in Atlanta. JM Lexus brings you Miami's lineup. D. Gordon, Derek Dietrich, Christian Yelich, wait for it. Justin Bour, Martin Prado, Ichiro, wait for it. Adeiny Echeverria, Jeff Mathis, Jose Fernandez, career against the Braves, triple homer, couple RBI. Julio Teheran, last time out, was really good, much better than the numbers he's had over 22 starts this season.
And Rich, by the way, the triple by Jose was against Julio Teheran. He has been spectacular against the Marlins in his career. His numbers this year kind of up and down. Last year, in over 220 innings, he had 51 walks. He has 49 already this year in a little over 130. So the control and the command hasn't quite been there on a day in and day out basis when Teheran takes the mound. Take a look at the defense tonight by the Atlanta Braves, brought to you by BMW. Todd Cunningham gets the start in left field. Maben and Markakis filling out the outfield. Adonis Garcia, Daniel Castro on the left side. Jace Peterson, the second baseman. Terdoslavich at first, and Pierzynski. Try those two names back to back. He's behind the plate.
Where was that Scrabble game when we needed it? Here is Julio Teheran. D. Gordon's in the box. Last night, the Braves, a 9-8 win, getting a run in the 8th and then finishing it in the top of the 9th. And Teheran delivers a fastball, whistles outside. Pinch-a-Penny brings you the first pitch. Derek Dietrich, Christian Yelich, and if anybody reaches, Justin Bour. 4 left-handed bats stacked up against Teheran. Outside corner, you hear David Rackley calling balls and strikes. Hunter Wendelstad at first, Marvin Hudson at second. Bob Davidson on the lookout at third base. Gordon sets down a bunt. Nicely done. Teheran fields and just gets it. It took a supreme play by Teheran, and he made it quickly off the mound, quickly to first.
Boy, that is a supreme play. There are a lot of pitchers that aren't able to get off the mound that quickly, and then from the hip, he fires over to first base just to get D. Gordon. Great attempt. Love to see him do that. Just a terrific play by Teheran.
Now Dietrich climbs in. Last night, Dietrich, same spot in the order, same spot in left field. Reached base 3 times, scored a couple runs, and blasted home run number 7 to right, and almost hit another homer later in the game that was just foul.
Yeah, he's had such a good approach. He's been getting on base. Yeah, he's been hit by a few pitches, but that's helped that on base percentage. 375 for Derek Dietrich.
1-1 pitch. Teheran goes up and in.
Talking to both Derek and to his manager, Dan Jennings. They just love the approach he's had, and that's something he's worked on.
See, pitch 2, which was called the strike. Pitch 3 was called the ball. Dietrich hits it hard. Terdoslavich at first gets to the bag, and Teheran has the first 2 outs of this ball game. Braves line up a mishmash of players that are up from AAA, some Major League free agents that they signed during the course of spring training.
They may have some reinforcements coming here soon, though.
Yeah, the Braves making a trade today, bringing back their former leadoff hitting center fielder Michael Bourne along with the enigmatic Nick Swisher from the Cleveland Indians. Chris Johnson goes from Atlanta, and there's some money coming from Cleveland to the Braves to help pay the salaries of Swisher. To left, Cunningham is there, and he makes the catch. And Bourne. Jose back on the mound in Atlanta and ready to take aim at the Braves. Jose Fernandez standing tall and ready to go. And his first pitch of the night, Jace Peterson lifts it in the air, and it's into the seats, a foul ball. Count is 0-1. And for Jose, a smile on his face, and it usually looks that way when he's pitching in the big leagues. Start number 7.
Already you can see the Braves are going to have an aggressive attack. But the other thing, Jose has come right after them with good quality pitches. He's gone 6 or more innings in all 6 of his starts so far this year.
Breaking ball misses in. Peterson last night, couple hits. Swings and misses. Mathis picks it up, tags him out. 1 hitter, 1 strikeout. Braves, brought to you by JM Lexus. You've seen Peterson, Daniel Castro's at short, Nick Markakis in right, AJ Pierzynski, cleanup hitter. Former Marlin Cameron Maben having a nice year here in Atlanta. Joey Terdoslavich is at first base. Adonis Garcia is at third. Todd Cunningham in left. Julio Teheran in the 9th spot. And Fernandez, this is up with a fastball to young Daniel Castro. Marlins got a look at some Braves they'd never seen before. Castro, one of them, the Mexican shortstop, just 22. Andrelton Simmons is out with a bruised thumb. And Castro filled in quite well last night. He was 3 for 4, scored a couple runs.
Just a good fastball. Simmons was taking batting practice today. There's a chance we could see him this weekend.
Here's a look at Andrelton Simmons. In the air to right. ICHIRO on patrol out there, and he makes the catch.
All right, we'll check in on that defense for the Marlins tonight, brought to you by BMW. Dietrich, Yelich, and Ichiro in the outfield. PRADO, he's familiar with the territory here at Turner Field. Echeverria, D. Gordon up the middle, Justin Bohr at first, and Jeff Mathis handles Jose Fernandez.
Now Markakis, he was 1 for 4 last night. There were plenty of hits, plenty of RBIs, up and down both lineups. Dietrich on the move and on the money. Makes the catch. 9-pitch inning for Jose Fernandez. Being a Marlins season ticket holder, only way to guarantee access to the 2017 All-Star Game at Marlins Park. Place your 2016 Marlins season ticket deposit. Join the Fish family today. Full season ticket plans start at just $499. So start saving now. Get your All-Star tickets. Call 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com/tickets. As expected with these two, quickly into the second, Justin Bohr, Martin PRADO, and ICHIRO. Bohr last night a 1 for 5. Tehran with a changeup for a strike. Opening day starter was Tehran, and he beat the Marlins at Marlins Park by a score of 2-1. His last time out against the Phils, very sharp. 7 strikeouts, no walks. And that was much different than his month of July. ERA right around 4 and a 1-2 record.
He really has a nice repertoire, moves his fastball around. We've already seen the changeup. Got a terrific slider to go along with it. Out of Cartagena, Colombia, is Julio Tehran. Repeats that delivery, so very good with command, mixes up his pitches. We've seen a couple of those excellent changeups already.
Justin Bohr, right field, didn't get enough. Markakis at the track makes the catch.
Well, he got enough. He just got under it. Left-handers this year, by the way, against Tehran, hitting over 300, 304. Righties hitting 237. You mentioned it, Rich, the top of the lineup filled with left-handers. 5 of the first 6 hitters are from the left side.
Fastball from Tehran. Martin Prado. Big night for Prado in terms of production. 2 sacrifice flies and an RBI single. So he knocked in 3 in 3 separate at-bats.
This is one of those games, if you're David Brackley, the home plate umpire, you know you're in for a pretty good evening calling balls and strikes.
Fouled at the plate. Marlins today, a couple of moves, a couple of pitchers placed on the disabled list. Jose Urena and Andre Rienzo placed on the DL. And the Marlins calling up a couple of minor league arms to fill in those spots. Urena, of course, hit in the knee last night by a line drive. Rienzo was injured in that play at the plate the other night at Marlins Park.
Yeah, remember Yoenis Cespedes came in. Good clean slide, but clipped him up in the knee area. Sliced him a little bit. He had to have some stitches.
Little pop, shallow rights. Peterson there, and he makes the catch. And in their stead, Kendry Flores, who was starting in New Orleans, and Kyle Barraclough, who was part of that Steve Cishek trade with the St. Louis Cardinals, is called up from AA Jacksonville.
I think the interesting thing, Dan Jennings talking about it, both Flores and Barraclough, guys who can go multiple innings. And certainly the way things have gone with the starters, you need those kind of guys in the bullpen.
Ichiro now. Couple of hits, couple of walks. 2 for 3 was Ichiro last night. And he takes outside. There's a look at Barraclough, anxious to make his major league debut out of St. Mary's College.
Power pitcher, good changeup. A lot of strikeouts in the minor leagues.
And there's Kendry Flores. Pitches in. Flores came over in the Casey McGee trade. And the Marlins traded Casey McGee in the offseason to the Giants. Ichiro lifts it in the air. Todd Cunningham makes the catch. Another quick inning for Julio Tehran.
In the second inning. Well, most starting pitchers like to stay pretty subdued on the day that they pitch. They usually wear headphones. They don't really talk to a lot of people, but not Jose Fernandez. He describes the day that he pitches as a party day. He tries to talk to everybody. He loves to play loud music in the clubhouse. He says that helps keep his mind off the game and helps keep him loose for when he's on the mound. And guys, so far tonight, no problems. 3 up, 3 down in that first inning.
Jessica, it's interesting. There are pitchers that have different routines on the day they pitch. Some will have actually a hood on a sweatshirt that they keep over their head with headphones on. Pierzynski fouls it back. A.J. Pierzynski leading it off for the Braves. And there are some, not a lot, Tommy, that are like Jose, that happy to talk to you, want to go out and take some batting practice. Fastball, and that was quick. The at-bat.
Well, I thought it was great as they had the foul lines, both foul lines, lined up with Atlanta Braves alumni. And on the far end, near third base, was John Smoltz, the newest Hall of Famer. And as Jose headed out for his warm-ups, he stopped by, chatted with the Hall of Famer, and shook his hand, and then continued on to go warm up and get ready for the game.
Who was the Brave that you were most surprised to see trot out on the line?
Haven't heard a lot about David Justice lately. Saw David Justice here. The crime dog, Fred McGriff.
Who looks like he just retired. He looks like he could play right now. To me, it was John Rocker.
There was some great old Braves names. Ryan Klesko.
Marcus Giles, an all-star. Fastball is up. It's Cameron Maybin. Maybin 1 for 3 last night, drove in a run. Jose Fernandez a 9-pitch first inning, and quickly to work here in the second.
A little different look in the attire of Cameron Maybin tonight. Remember last night he had the pant legs hiked up. He had the big stirrups. He had a base hit. Surprised he changed. Went back to a more modern day look.
Some call that the pajama pant look. It's popular in the major leagues.
You know, the amazing thing about Jose, we showed you those numbers last year in the start, the one on April 22nd against Atlanta here. Then on the 29th he pitched against the Braves in Miami. And it was just a couple of starts after that in San Diego that he felt the pain. He may have felt it before, but he sure had great numbers against the Braves in those 2 starts. And then after that May 9th start, had to go on the DL and had to have Tommy John surgery.
Two to Maybin. The other amazing thing about Jose, his last 2 starts, both you and I agree, he didn't have his best command and kind of battled it. He only gave up 1 run in 12 innings combined. 8th pitch to Maybin. Chopper to short. Echeverria on to first in time to get the out. 2 outs here in the second. Baseball's playoff race starting to get high gear. And a doubleheader tomorrow. The Dodgers and the Pirates. Key game for both teams. Our Preston Wilson will be on that call. And then the Cardinals and the Brewers. You can see the games only on Fox Sports 1. Coverage begins 3:30 Eastern only on Fox Sports 1. And it streams live on Fox Sports Go. First pitch, Terdoslavich to left. Dietrich back there. And he makes the catch. Jose, 1, 2, 3. Who will blink first in Atlanta? in Atlanta. Night drawing near. And a battle of right-handers. Julio Teheran has been solid. Jose Fernandez has retired all 6 that he's faced. So no base runners yet. And the Marlins go with an AT Echeverria, Jeff Mathis, and then Jose Fernandez. Echeverria takes a fastball for a strike. 1 for 5 was Etch in last night's game. His hit was a gorgeous bunt single that he pushed past the mound towards the second baseman. Shoots a ground ball to the right side. Terdoslavich to the bag. And Teheran has retired all 7 he's faced.
Well, you can see that Teheran is locked in as well. We talked about the walks are up a little bit for him this year. But so far tonight, his command is good.
Speaking of locked in, Clayton Kershaw took a scoreless inning streak to the mound against the Pirates, and it's been snapped by a Gregory Polanco home run. That in the first inning. Mid-4th now, Dodgers 2-1 over the Pirates. Jeff Mathis has the first hit of the night. Lines it into center field.
Well, that's a good feeling for Jeff Mathis. He's really struggled this year, 0 for his last 18. So he breaks out with a base hit. Got himself a fastball out over the plate. There it is, starting his 19th game. Real Muto, I believe, available to pinch hit if necessary tonight.
Last night we saw Tomas Telis, Marlins' 3rd catcher, come in and finish behind the plate when Mathis was pinch hit for. Here's Jose. Career numbers against the Braves.
Yeah, he's done it all against Atlanta.
Jose pushes a bunt right side, picked up by Terdoslavich, gets the out at first.
Textbook. Beautiful bunt by Jose Fernandez.
And he gives D. Gordon a chance to plate the first run of the night.
Adam Conley dropped down a nice sacrifice bunt last night. Lately, the Marlins have done a nice job in that area. Tough to score on a base hit with D. Gordon up there. The outfield not real deep.
It is the one thing Mathis has going for him, despite all his years in the big leagues as a catcher. He still runs pretty well. Teheran coming right after him. The count's 0-2. Castro just got him.
Wow, that was close.
Very close.
Wow, that was close.
Dan Jennings signaling that the Marlins will look at it. We will look at it as well. Castro had to wait on that hop, and that gave Gordon enough time to scamper down the line.
Plus, he had to wait on it, get it on the grass, take time to plant because he knew he had to get something on the throw.
And he is out.
And he got it.
Fridays brought to you by Dodge. Hashtag Flashback Marlins. Post your best vintage Marlins photo, and you may show up on Marlins Live postgame. Jose Fernandez back to work with a fastball to Adonis Garcia. A strike. Just 22 pitches. Pair of strikeouts.
Much better command tonight from Jose.
Garcia lines it to right. Ichiro is there, and he makes the catch. So an out here in the third, and it brings up Todd Cunningham. We talked about the Braves trade today. Nick Swisher, who's had some awful luck with his knees. Michael Bourne, who was a really nice piece for Freddie Gonzalez and the Braves. Both coming from Cleveland to Atlanta. Chris Johnson headed to Cleveland.
It's one of those deals, too, when you start looking at the contracts, the money involved. Cleveland will be taking on some of Chris Johnson's money, and the Braves will be taking on some of Swisher's and Bourne's.
Cunningham is out, number 2. Marlins and Red Sox, Marlins Park, Tuesday and Wednesday. And on Tuesday, first 10,000 fans get an Ichiro t-shirt courtesy of Saito Pharmaceutical. Secure your seats today for the Red Sox series. 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com. Now Tehran shortens to bunt. Drawing a smile from Jose. It's 0-1. Couple hits this season. The desire to get outs for Jose burns bright, but you also notice that this year it seems like it's a desire to get late in games and maybe conserve himself a bit. Fastball, 3 pitches to Tehran. Jose Fernandez is rolling, an 8-pitch third inning. .17, just northwest of downtown Atlanta, Cobb County. SunTrust Park, the new home of the Braves. Next to the Cobb Galleria, hotel and shopping, restaurants all around. 41,500 will be the capacity at a cost of $622 million. Pretty cool looking. Of course, this area has been home of the Braves ever since they moved from Milwaukee. Fulton County Stadium was right outside the outfield. this ballpark was built for the Olympics and then, I guess, remastered for baseball. Went from an Olympic stadium to a major league stadium.
Yeah, they had all the track and field events here.
Derek Dietrich. And so the fourth inning begins. Julio Teheran's given up one hit, a Jeff Mathis single in the third. Dietrich bounced to first. Skies it high. Out of play. Marlins box score. Christian Yelich, Justin Bour due up here in the fourth. We'll keep an eye on what's up in the National League East tonight. These two National League East rivals, both in rebuilding mode in the middle of a season. I guess with the Braves, much more of a rebuild. For the Marlins, maybe a little bit of a retrofit is what the Fish are after. There's a 1-1.
That's why it's kind of an interesting deal the Braves made with Cleveland, because you don't rebuild with aging players who are on the downside, and Swisher and Bourne certainly fit that category.
Of course, the Marlins pushed the reset button after 2012, and the core of that team is still here, though Stanton is hurt, Ozuna's in AAA. Some of the guys that also came in are on the disabled list. Anderson Alvarez. 1-2. Look out. Dietrich pulls it foul.
You know, the one guy, it's amazing. One of our favorites, Mark Burley, still going strong. Won last night for Toronto. 15 straight years now. He has 10 or more wins. And if he continues on, he'll make it 15 straight years of 200 innings pitched or more. And in the 9 games that Tulowitzki's played for Toronto since they acquired him, the Blue Jays are 8-1.
Derek Dietrich, you just saw what Dietrich did. He tipped his cap. The fan that was hit by that line drive was a young boy. And the young boy is being taken to get attention. He is leaving on his own, walking up towards the concourse.
Got an Andrelton Simmons jersey on.
Counts full, 3-2. The deepest count of the night against Teheran. And he misses. Dietrich walks. Leadoff walk in the fourth. Since opening day, Marlins 43-66, the Braves 49-60. Look at all the changes on the rosters.
Boy, some tons of changes. Look at the right column for the Braves. 13 Atlanta Braves made their major league debuts this year. Not many remaining. All the pitchers used, just incredible for both teams.
Now Yelich, who lined to left, and he takes out. Three hits and a double. Drove in 2 yesterday. Teheran, the ace of this team.
Well, you don't have many opportunities to get that leadoff man on base. The Marlins have Dietrich there. So you just want to do everything possible to try to take advantage of that. And
the Braves thinking so highly of Tehran that early in his career they signed him to a multi-year contract. He signed through 2019.
So by the time that contract is up, Tehran will still just be 27, 28 years old.
He was a horse last year, 33 starts, 221 innings, an ERA of under 3, an all-star last year. Yelich into right field for a base hit. Markakis got there quickly. Dietrich will hold second.
Good job by Christian Yelich. Got a changeup. A lot of pitchers stay away from that pitch with the hole open with a runner at first base. But Yelich got the changeup, was able to pull the trigger, and with the second baseman Peterson just shading a step or two for a double play, he got it through that hole.
So here is Bohr, who hit a fly ball to the start of the warning track in right field in the second.
Justin Bohr looking for that home run. He's gone 82 at bats since his last long ball.
A line drive caught by Terdoslavich. Safe. Yelich, an athletic slide to get around and in.
Boy, that ball was hammered by Justin Bohr. Just bad luck. Hit it on the line. Great base running. Most base runners with one step in that situation are going to get doubled off. Yelich was able to react and come back to the corner of that bag, the furthest point away from Terdoslavich.
You know, the other thing he did on that dive, his legs, he was able to bend his legs towards the infield grass and then get them up in the air, which made it tagging him tougher for the diving Terdoslavich.
And once again, a dirty uniform for Christian Yelich. Remember, we had those shots last night.
Watch his legs.
Kind of curls him. Well, that's great instincts.
Prado went. Hunter Wendelstedt at first. To right, Markakis squares up, makes the catch. Dietrich to third, and he takes a healthy turn. The throw came into second. Yelich getting back to first.
Tell you what, that ball carried further than I thought and further than Markakis thought. As soon as Dietrich saw Markakis backpedal, he went back and tagged up and then took a hard turn at third. And you love to see that because you never know what's going to happen on that relay throw. If there's any kind of a bobble and the ball trickles away, if Dietrich takes that good turn, he might be able to score. And in a game like this, that could be huge.
Another left-handed bat, and again that right side is open with Terdoslavich holding Yelich.
We have seen Ichiro take advantage of this situation. We've seen him flick a lot of balls into left field, but every once in a while, if he gets a pitch with that right side, that hole open, he'll go ahead and take a shot there.
Tehran thought he had a strike. Counts 2-0.
20th pitch coming up for Tehran this inning.
Marlins Live pregame brought to you by your South Florida Honda dealers. Get you going at 6:30 tomorrow. JT Real Muto Confidential. A changeup.
Really surprised that, number one, he got the changeup, and not as surprised that he took it because the count was 2-0. But that is a pitch he could pull in that hole. He was trying to there.
Well, if he threw the changeup at 2-0, see if he throws it 2-2. Runner goes. Ichiro pops it. Third base side. Garcia has it. Almost popped out of the glove. He holds it. And Miami strands 2. Still score. By your local Chevy dealers. Visit your South Florida Chevy dealers today. By Checkers, mix and match our famous Big Buford and Big Chicken Deluxe. Get 2 for $5. Checkers, it's in the bag. In Atlanta, sun going down, night coming on. Scoreless ball game. Marlins and Braves. Jose Fernandez, second time through. He's faced the minimum through 3. A strikeout in each inning. Jace Peterson went down swinging. And it counts 1-1. Of course, Jose's last start, he left with a 2-0 lead. 6 innings, 4 hits, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks. That was the game in which Alexi Amarista would homer. And Danny Echeverria would hit a 3-run walk-off homer. Miami won it 5-2.
Tried to go back that pitch that he struck Peterson out on in the first inning. At that time, Jace Peterson stayed away from it.
That one fouled off. We talked about during Jose's last start, the Marlins trying not to fall into this routine. His last start against the Padres, the Marlins had lost 4 in a row. And Jose didn't get the win, but pitched great, and they won the ball game. Outside corner. Nicely done. You look at Fox Tracks, number 7, right on the black. And here, the Marlins again have lost 4 straight. Jose trying to snap that skid. Let's check in with Jessica Blaylock.
Hey, Rich, I found a family that pulls for both the Braves and the Marlins. This is a Raley family. This is Greg, Maddox, see what they did there, Cade, and Bonnie. Now, first off, Greg, I'm going to start with you. How do you end up pulling for 2 teams that play in the same division?
Growing up in the South, there were no Marlins, so all I had was the Braves. But I moved to South Florida 20 years ago and wanted to support the local teams, the Heat, the Marlins, the Panthers, and the Dolphins, of course. So just started going to a lot of Marlins games and met my wife. We had kids and started bringing them to the ballpark. We're definitely a baseball family.
So when the Braves and the Marlins play each other, how do you decide who pulls for who?
I'm kind of old-fashioned, so I have to stick to my roots, or people back home will get on me too much. But I'm Marlins for everybody except the Braves. We always go to all the games when the Marlins and Braves play in South Florida. So this year we decided pick a weekend we'd come up here and show the family the ballpark up here, and just great night, great weather, great pitching matchup.
And Cade is not split down the middle, though. Cade is a huge Marlins fan and loves Giancarlo Stanton in particular. Why do you love Giancarlo so much?
He's good on defense, and I like that he hits a lot of home runs.
Yeah, I think those are 2 great reasons. All right, thanks so much. You guys enjoy the game. Guys, back to you.
Nicely done, Jess. Jose Fernandez allows his first base runner. He walks Daniel Castro, and here's Nick Markakis.
Good job, family, realizing where they moved to, but also not forgetting who they followed early on.
One of the young ones had a Braves All-Star cap and a Jose Fernandez jersey. So Castro's aboard. Markakis lined to left his first time up.
You know, you look at Markakis, and one of the things you look at in his numbers, you look at the home run total, 2. But 35 multi-hit games, 25 doubles, and a terrific outfielder.
You know, you forget after you watch Jose pitch for 3 innings out of the windup how quickly he comes to the plate and how quick his release is from the stretch. Oh, and 2 to Nick Markakis.
Got a couple of guys with hitting streaks, double-figure hitting streaks. Markakis had 13 games. Pierzynski, who's on deck, he's at 11 games.
Gerardo Parra of the Brewers. Marlins haven't seen him yet. Parra or the Brewers.
It's coming up, Rich, after that 2-game set with Boston at home. Team turns around, heads out on the road to St. Louis, and then on to Milwaukee.
Stays at 0-2. The Washington Nationals are at home against the Rockies tonight. And the Nationals have a 2-0 lead over Colorado. That game now in the top of the 6th inning.
Ryan Zimmerman, 5 shutout innings, giving up just 2 hits to the Rockies so far. Good pitching matchup in St. Pete as well. Mets and the Rays. Tampa Bay with a 1-0 lead. Odorizzi against DeGrom.
Maybe a few Stetson alum at that ball game.
Interesting to see how the Rays got their 1 run on a solo home run by Grady Sizemore.
6 straight foul balls in this at bat.
This will be the 20th pitch of the inning, too, for Jose.
Gordon can't get it. It's into right center. That's a base hit. Picked up there by Yelich. On his way to third is Daniel Castro. It's quite an at-bat by Nick Markakis.
That's a tremendous at-bat by Markakis. He fouled off numerous pitches. Got himself a fastball and then hammered it just out of the reach of D. Gordon. For a moment, you thought D would make the grab. Then getting over to third base was Castro.
8-pitch at bat, and you see where pitch number 8 was. Right down the heart. Extends the hitting streak. And Jose in some trouble here for the first time tonight. Pierzynski.
Pierzynski, a tough guy to strike out, too. Tough to strike out. He did in his first at bat. So he struck out just 27 times. He's walked only 14. So he doesn't walk much, doesn't strike out much.
Pierzynski, the Orlando native, Dr. Phillips High School.
That was one of the things that he enjoyed about signing with the Braves. The fact that they have spring training, give him 6 extra weeks at home.
Lines it to left, a base hit, and the Braves are on the board. Pierzynski, who has been such a good clutch hitter for the Braves all year, makes it 1-0.
Well, Markakis got his hit on a fastball. Pierzynski got his base hit on a changeup, and to his credit, he stayed back. It was up a little bit, and that allowed him to stay back and drive it into left field. Couple of tough left-handed bats back-to-back in Markakis and Pierzynski.
And his hitting streak is now at 12. Excuse me. At 13. Maben into right field. Ichiro's got it. Holding is Markakis.
What's amazing, after getting the first out, striking out Peterson, the walk has kind of opened things up for Atlanta against Jose. After the walk to Castro, 3 consecutive singles. That one by Cameron Maben.
Maben's had a terrific year with runners in scoring position and in big spots for the Braves.
He's also had a career high already in RBIs.
Turdoslavich now. Chuck Hernandez a quick visit for Jose Fernandez. Turdoslavich line to left. One foul back. Bags loaded. 1 out. He went. It's a swing and a strike, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, home plate umpire didn't even check. He called that himself. David Rackley.
Jose worked out of a bases loaded jam in the first on Sunday against the Padres. Here he's got just 1 out, and he misses. Turdoslavich, a base hit last night. Freddie Freeman is out right now. Andrelton Simmons as well. Turdoslavich getting the start in Freeman's spot at first.
Freeman with an oblique injury.
to center field. That's a base hit. Yelich has it. Pierzynski stops. And the Braves have their second run.
You're seeing some pitches getting hit that have a lot of the plate. Let's go back to the fastball to Markakis with center cut. The changeup to Pierzynski out over the plate. It was up. This pitch had middle of the plate. They credit the Braves hitters. They're taking advantage of some pitches that have a little bit of the plate.
Now Garcia. Infield still looking for a ground ball.
Wow, 30 pitches coming up here. This next one in this inning for Jose. And he was incredibly efficient the first 3 innings.
He retired the first 10 batters he faced. 4 strikeouts. There were some hard hit balls though, some line drives. Derek Dietrich had 3 of them out his way and left.
This inning alone, Rich, there have been 13 balls fouled off.
It's got to make Kevin Seitzer, new hitting coach of the Braves, quite happy. There's a look at Seitzer next to Carlos Tosca, longtime bench coach for Freddie Gonzalez. And he got him to chase the slider. Second out, and now he's got to get Todd Cunningham out.
Well, he puts him away with that big slider.
But Mathis really had to adjust his glove. You see how little time he had in that shot.
Strikeout number 4 for Jose.
That pitch started out waist high and ended up in the dirt. Fastball. It's 1-2.
Cunningham had 26 games in AAA this year. Just 1 home run, hitting .276 out of Jacksonville State University in Alabama.
He was born in Jacksonville, Alabama. It always catches your attention when the first line of a player's bio, as Cunningham's reads, says began his professional career in Rome.
Rome, Georgia.
They do not play in the Coliseum there. Into left center field. Dietrich is there, and he makes the catch. But the Braves do some damage to Jose Fernandez. They get a couple runs in the 4th. MLB Whip Around on Fox Sports 1. Highlights, instant analysis, live look-ins, all from around Major League Baseball. MLB Whip Around airs weeknights, 7 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, and it streams live on Fox Sports Go. Tommy, what would Vince Scully say? A rich tapestry here in the city of Atlanta. The sun sets on the south.
Well, a much more beautiful sky tonight than we had last night.
I will say this, speaking of Atlanta and speaking of Vince Scully, we oftentimes talk about Henry Aaron's record-setting home run against the Dodgers just across the way at Fulton County Stadium. Here is Echeverria. And most hear, when they see the highlight, the Milo Hamilton call of the home run. There's a new home run king, and his name is Henry Aaron. And while that is a great call, do yourself a favor tonight. Go ahead and Google Vince Scully and Henry Aaron 714 and listen to Vince Scully's call of that home run, which is just an incredible piece of broadcasting. And it's a shame that more people haven't heard it. Roller in the hole at short. Castro around it, and Etch beats it. He's got himself a hit. In that call, Scully does two things extremely well. Number one, he lets the crowd just go wild. He calls the home run. He lets the crowd go. And then his commentary on the significance of Aaron's home run to baseball, to society, to the South is spot on.
With 44.
Yep. All right, here's Mathis now with Echeverria at first.
Echeverria, by the way, Rich, 107 base hits. Only one other National League shortstop has more hits. Johnny Peralta of the Cardinals.
Tommy, you talked about the precious opportunity that the Marlins had in the fourth when Dietrich was aboard, leadoff hitter aboard. The Marlins actually followed that up with a hit by Yelich. Remember, Bohr hit one right on the button, but it was also right at Joey Turdoslavich.
Prado hit his ball pretty well. Deep fly ball to the warning track in right field. Good job by Jeff Mathis to lay off that breaking ball off the plate. Talked about Tehran at home, extremely tough. 5-1 and a 2.37 ERA at home this year.
And really good against Miami in his short career. He is just 24 years old. His 11th start, he's 5-1, an ERA of 2.5.
There is numbers this year. His home and road splits. Even though one of those wins on the road was in Miami opening day.
Mathis fouls it up and almost into Tommy Hutton's lap. That was right on line. You had it lined up.
Had it lined up. It wasn't one of those screamers, so I think I may have taken a shot at that one. I hope we have this same nice vantage point in the new ballpark.
This is a great place to call a baseball game. And it's a great place to watch a game. Very fan-friendly ballpark. Runner goes. Liner to center. Hit well. Maben back. And he reaches up and makes the catch. And there's one out. Geico Major League Baseball moment, 1999. Wade Boggs becomes the first player to record his 3,000th career hit, ironically, with a home run. That would be like Ichiro getting his 3,000th hit and hitting a home run.
Yeah, that was the oddity of that. Boggs known for all the singles, the line drives. At the time, but then remember Derek Jeter got his 3,000th hit with a home run.
Alex Rodriguez.
So there have been a couple since.
Another great sacrifice. Jose Fernandez, almost the exact same spot.
There were a lot of numbers on many different articles today about Mike Trout, who turns 24 today, about comparing his numbers through his 23rd birthday with some of the great Hall of Famers. And they are incredible. And Trout in most of those numbers in the top 3 or top 5.
Gordon was up in this exact spot in the third, and he bounced to short and was thrown out by less than a step, by a shoe length. The swing, says Bob Davidson. Gordon registers his displeasure. Marlins dugout is on Davidson a little bit. That's not a swing.
Wow, that's not a swing. That's not even close.
And right now Gordon is trying to not let that bother him.
It's tough. You get that. He's trying to regroup right now. D. Gordon out of the box. Davidson with a smirk. I don't think an umpire should do that, to be honest. He's a veteran. He's got to know he made a bad call there. And he's making it look like he's smirking about it. Of course, he still thinks he made a good call on Gabby Sanchez's ground ball, too.
Yeah. He said so the next day, even after watching the replays. Good lead at second by Echeverria. Gordon. Tehran knocked over, gets up, throws him out. And the Marlins come up empty in the fifth. Halfway through in Atlanta, Julio Tehran, a shutout. The Braves have 2 against Jose. It's 2-0. The Braves have a couple runs and 4 hits against Jose Fernandez. Jose Fernandez, you talk about stressful innings. In the 4th, 38 pitches. That's a career high for an inning. His next highest was back early last year. He had 34 pitches in an inning in Philly.
When you think about it now with the pitch count where it is, now if you're Dan Jennings, you're hoping to get 6 out of Jose. Whereas when this game started through the first 3 innings, you were looking at 8 innings plus.
At the knees, struck him out. Down goes Tehran. And out here in the 5th. Renew your season tickets today. It's your chance to win a trip for 2016 All-Star Game, along with other incredible prizes and experiences. You enjoy maximum savings, rewards, and flexible payment options. Renew by phone, 1-877-MARLINS, at marlins.com, and an upcoming home game as well. Jace Peterson, who has struck out twice.
Sometimes I think it's good, Jose, with all those pitches the inning before, to start this inning facing the pitcher, Tehran. Because remember, we pointed out the pitches that he made, just about all of them that were hit by the Braves for base hits were up, a little bit out over the plate, weren't in the zone the way they were the first 3 innings.
Off-speed pitch. Gordon picks it and gets the out at first.
Got away with that one.
Nice play by D. Gordon. Daniel Castro getting some play at short. Andrelton Simmons still on the shelf. He drills that one to left, hits it well. Dietrich is there and makes the catch. A 9-pitch inning follows that 38-pitch number. 2-0 Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm wandering all around the ballpark tonight. I'm joined now by a couple of the players' wives. This is Morgan, this is Brad Hand's wife, and this is Chelsea right next to me, Brian Morris's wife. And ladies, you have a players' wives raffle coming up on Tuesday against the Red Sox. Can you give me a little bit of information about it?
Yes, raffle tickets will be available in section 15, starting at 4:30 and ending at the 6th inning. We will also be walking around selling the tickets throughout the stadium.
Okay, perfect. And you can win a lot of really cool prizes, can't you?
Yeah, the fans have a chance to win one of the 5 following prizes. We'll have a Stanton bat, a Tom Color baseball, a Carter Caps photo, a family fun pack, and a authenticated ICHIRO jersey.
Very cool. Those are some awesome prizes. And Morgan, how will people be able to know that they've won one of the prizes?
The winner will be announced in-game after the 6th inning and also on Twitter and at section 15.
Okay, perfect. So fans can pick up tickets starting at 4:30 next Tuesday against the Red Sox, and they can win some really cool prizes. So that should be a lot of fun.
All right. That's certainly a great charity.
That'd be nice, too. Red Sox in town. Buy those tickets. Get the raffle tickets.
On Tuesday night. Derek Dietrich, Christian Yelich, Justin Bour. As Julio Teheran. Dietrich fouls it into the glove of A.J. Pierzynski. Teheran certainly has limited the damage. Miami has 3 hits, all of them singles, none of them bunched together. Dietrich has drawn the only walk of the night.
You know, the other night when Dietrich had the 2 hits in 1 inning, it was the second time this year that he had done that. He had 2 hits in that big inning against the Yankees in Marlins Park. The only other Marlin that ever had two hit innings in a season, Benito Santiago. Hey, you and I had a nice chat with Dusty Baker today, who's also in town.
Kendry Flores in Miami's bullpen. Flores getting loose. This would not be his major league debut. He's appeared twice. Pitch misses down low. Dusty Baker. Now, it is alumni weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Braves alumni weekend. We just talked about the iconic home run of Henry Aaron. Wasn't Dusty Baker on deck?
I think he was. Yes, he was.
Dietrich swings and misses.
I'll make everybody feel old. I think it was the World Series. I know it was postseason. Dusty's young son was the bat boy. Remember JT Snow scoring? Bat boy ran out there, and JT had to pick him up. His son's 16 years old now. And a nice ball player out in the Sacramento area.
Yelich line to left, single to right.
Amazing, the strikeout of Dietrich is first. Kind of an odd game for Teheran. 1 strikeout, and he's thrown just 6 first pitch strikes.
And yet he's thrown a shutout.
Yeah,
here in the 6th,
and he's given up just 3 hits. So sometimes the numbers match up, and sometimes they don't.
He looks a lot like he did on opening day. That is strike 3 called. He goes 5 innings without any strikeouts, and he strikes out the first 2 here in the 6th. Coors Timeless Moments 2010. It's brought to you by Coors Banquet Beer. Barry Bonds hits his 756th home run to break Henry Aaron's all-time career home run record. And it's not to beat this one up, but we go back to that great moment. That's a moment that is etched in every baseball fan's mind. Not so much the Bonds one. That's a great play at short by Daniel Castro. Bohr crashes after he goes across the bag. Channeling his inner Andrelton Simmons is Daniel Castro. And he throws out Justin Bohr. Julio Teheran, 6 shutout innings. Just 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, had 6 strikeouts and a walk.
You know, by the conversation that he's having with Chuck Hernandez and by the look on his face, it doesn't lead us to believe there's anything wrong. I think just the high pitch count in the 1 inning, but still overall 76 pitches. Remember, he came back with a low pitch inning the next inning. And that's all for Jose. A surprise, yes, but certainly making his 7th start since coming back from Tommy John surgery. But it's not a conversation of concern. Doesn't look like it anyway.
Casey McGee is going to come into the game at first base. Justin Bohr, you just saw him trip going over first base, and so the attention quickly goes from Jose to Justin Bohr.
I think this is more of a double switch than any injury related to Justin Bohr. They're trying to extend Flores and get as many innings out of him. We saw him in Colorado, 2 1/3 innings. And we saw Flores make an appearance, inning and a third in Toronto.
But would you do that in a 2-0 game? And that pitcher spot is a ways away. I mean, he might not have to hit. That spot may not come up for 2 innings.
Pitcher spot due up 5th when you look at the 7th inning. But you would like to have the big bat of Justin Bour in there.
Liner into center field. Nick Markakis singles. Here's how Kendry Flores arrived. I'm sure he arrived on Delta here in Atlanta. But here's how he got here with the roster moves. Flores, who came to the Marlins from the Giants organization in the original Casey McGee trade. Ironic that they both came into the game at the same time. Flores and Casey.
And they both come into the game at the same time. Flores split time between Jacksonville and New Orleans. And his combined numbers, good ERA, 2.34. 19 starts, 6-5 record. But most recently pitching in AAA New Orleans.
To center, Yelich runs it down. A.J. Pierzynski, who drove in a key run back in the 4th.
I have to wonder what's going through Cameron Maybin's mind with the Braves making that deal with Cleveland, getting Nick Swisher and Michael Bourne. Michael Bourne, a center fielder, as Cameron Maybin is.
Flores a strike to open the Maybin at bat. Maybin has singled and bounced out. That had an odd sound to it. Did that hit the home plate umpire's mask?
Yeah.
Oh, it did.
And I don't think Jeff Mathis got a whole lot of it. He didn't deflect much of it.
And it clipped that throat protector. The rest of the umpiring crew coming in to check on David Ratcliffe.
Once Mathis knows time has been called, the first thing he does, he wants to check on the home plate umpire.
I think it wasn't the mask that took the brunt of it. I think that throat guard deflected the ball and probably dissipated the blow. And as a result, it snapped off.
I believe that throat guard was designed years ago by longtime Dodger trainer Bill Bueller. And they had some problems with a couple of Dodger catchers.
Well, that was after Steve Yeager was hit in the throat. Right?
Yeager was hit, and all of a sudden they came up with that concept.
Yeager was actually on deck, and a broken bat, the sharp piece of the broken bat, got him right in the throat. Maybin takes in.
Of course, Steve Yeager, known for his defensive prowess as a catcher and his acting ability in Major League 2. I think it was in both of them.
Maben goes through, and it's 3-2. Runner goes, bouncer into left. On his way to third is a hustling Nick Markakis, and Cameron Maben has his second hit.
He got that off-speed pitch, but it was up, and it was in an area where he kept his hands back, didn't hit it sharply, but was able to pull it some good topspin past PRADO. Because Markakis was on the move, Markakis not a speed burner on the bases, but because he was on the move, goes first to third.
And you've got speed at first with Maben, Markakis at third, Henry Flores in for Jose Fernandez. 76 pitches for Jose, just 5 innings. No indication that he was hurt. Turdoslavich had the other big hit in the fourth. Drove in Atlanta's second run. Maben was leaning, and he's picked. Throw down to short. Echeverria tags Maben, gets the out, and keeps the runner. Nice move by Echeverria, who caught the ball almost in full flight and was able to catch a speedy runner on his way back to first.
And all while doing that, out of the corner of his eye, keeping his eye on Markakis at third base. Good job by Casey McGee, too. You love to see the shortstop receive the throw the way Echeverria did. Full bore, all of his momentum going toward the runner. There was nowhere for Maben to go, and Markakis is still at third.
It does go as a caught stealing.
There's a good changeup from Flores.
Add to your scouting report of Flores has a pretty good move to first.
Well, what Freddie Gonzalez was trying to do was maybe trying to sneak a run in, steal a run that way. But the way the Marlins played it defensively kept that from happening.
That's a strike. Down goes Turdoslavich. Flores works out of trouble here in the 6th inning. In the home of the Braves, Atlanta, 2-0. Braves on top, 7th inning. Jose Fernandez going 5, lifted after 76 pitches. Atlanta was able to get 2 runs against him. Julio Teheran is still standing. Martin Prado, Ichiro, and Echeverria. Teheran, a fastball that misses up. Miami has just the 3 hits against Teheran.
Yeah, 3 singles. One of those, the infield single from Echeverria. How about 4 singles?
Into center, Prado. And it's the 3rd time Miami's had their leadoff hitter aboard. Ichiro's flied out, popped out.
We've been trying to think a little bit more into the Justin Bour situation after that tumble at first base. We haven't seen him on the bench. Don't know if he's hurt, and that's why the double switch was made.
One thing that could lead you in that direction, and it showed up last night in the strategy that the Marlins had, is the status of JT Realmuto and the bone bruise he has on his left hand. Realmuto did not play in last night's ball game. Ichiro, one hopper, and it scoots right by Castro into left field. And that could easily be a base hit for Ichiro.
I'm going to mark down base hit. I think it should be. He hits it sharply. Castro shading a little bit. The ball scoots by him.
He has the most unique swing that I've ever seen, and just about everybody I ask has ever seen.
Well, and it is a base hit. Seeing the Justin Bour tumble, you and I were talking about it between innings too. Kind of reminded us of when Martin Prado got hurt.
Roger McDowell's on his way out. Well, oftentimes a manager's hand is forced by the depth that he's got on his bench, the moves that he makes in game. So you wonder if JT Realmuto is available, or if he's trying to conserve moves by, because of the injury, bringing McGee into that 9 spot, not having to pinch hit in a spot with Flores in the 9 spot.
And trust me, those guys in the dugout know a whole lot more about their personnel before the game and in game than we do. We try to speculate, figure things out, but
Echeverria now. Mathis on deck. Justin Bour back on the bench. Looks fine.
Doesn't appear to be injured.
Ball and a strike to Echeverria. Etch drives it right center field. That's in the gap, and it goes to the wall. Scoring is Prado. Ichiro's right behind him, and Echeverria is flying around the bases. Arrives at third with a 2-run triple that ties this ball game.
Great job by Danny Echeverria. 31st multi-hit game of the year. Keeps climbing in that department. Finds this gap in right center, and once it splits the gap and gets all the way to the wall, you watched Ichiro score all the way from first base. And all this happening, nobody is out, and Echeverria is at third base.
So it's Mathis now with a chance to give Miami the lead. Well, the complexion of this one just changed in a real hurry.
And Jeff Mathis has had 2 really good swings, a single and then a line drive out to center field.
Ross Detweiler in Atlanta's pen.
Quieted the crowd down a little bit here too.
On Alumni Weekend. This is the largest group of ex-Braves that have been back for Alumni Weekend in the club's history. And the big 3 are all here. Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine. Even for good measure, Steve Avery. Two-one.
And they bulk up the offense, bringing in Rafael Belliard.
Disappointed to learn that Jeff Blauser is not here tonight.
Mark Lemke does some pre- and post-game work for the Braves on their radio network.
Paul Bird does some work. Brian Jordan as well. In fact, it would be an interesting game between the Marlin analysts who played in the big leagues and the Brave analysts who played in the big leagues. Right? I mean, Jeff Conine, Preston Wilson, Carl Pavano, Tommy Hutton.
Got Pavy on the mound.
Tapper to third. Etch is going to hold. And the throw across is in time to get Mathis. And it brings up McGee.
Well, we talk about that play with a runner at third, with nobody out, not going on contact, because you want to give your next hitter a shot. Maybe with 1 out, maybe you go on contact. We'll see if that's the case, or if Casey McGee just gets a base hit.
McGee got that base hit last night. It was a big one in the 8th. And McGee swings and misses. Ball and a strike. McGee was hitting some rotten luck. He had a couple of balls in that San Diego series that bounced off the pitcher that were ticketed for center field. Both turned into outs. Drawn in infield here. Called strike. McGee didn't like it. And it was a perfect pitch. On the black and at the knees.
It's interesting how first and second base, Trdoslavich and Peterson, extremely close together. I mean, they're playing in, but they're giving Casey McGee that hole up the middle, and Trdoslavich is giving him the line.
And that's where Casey hits a lot of baseballs, up the middle. That's where his base hit went last night. He struck him out with a fastball. And Freddie Gonzalez is on his way out, and I think that's it for Tehran. Letter high fastball. McGee had a rip. Wes Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Miami has tied it up on the Echeverria triple. Family, the exclusive loyalty program of Marlin fans. To learn more, log in. Go to marlins.com/fishfamily. All your Fish Family members out there, here's your bonus code. Gordon. As in D. Gordon. Flash Jr. Well, D. Gordon has come within inches of 2 hits. Both of those bang-bang plays at first. He's up here with a Danny Echeverria 90 feet away, and it's a lefty, former Washington National Ross Detweiler. Tall, lanky.
Talked about it a little bit last night when he was warming up in the bullpen. Guy who will feature a lot of fastballs. Did a good job for the Nationals over the years. Kind of a swing guy. Every once in a while he'd start.
Kind of has a little bit of a crossfire motion.
Started the year this year with Texas.
One and two to Gordon. Pulls it, backing up. Tardaslavich. Gordon gets there and beats it, and he goes feet first. Echeverria scores.
Great reactions. What a great slide, because you have to make that determination right away. And he loves the fact that he didn't go in head first, but that's because he wasn't thinking about it. It was instincts. All of a sudden, he saw he had a chance to beat Detweiler and get out of the way of a tag.
You can see Detweiler getting the bag late, had that glove out as well. Ooh, that's close. But it's a base hit, so Gordon has his hit. Miami has their run, and they've got a 3-2 lead. Detweiler to first. Gordon is running. Now in a rundown, and he is tagged out. Terdoslavich gets him. But the Marlins get their run. Gordon with a hit. A 3-run seventh, and it's 3-2. Toyota trend. Close and late. D. Gordon at 406. The other thing that D. Gordon does really well, besides being atop the close and late list in the National League, that is hit against the East. D. Gordon against the National League East is just under 400 this year. Came in at 394. And against the Braves this year, he has a hit in all 11 games against him. Adonis Garcia just misses. Extra bases. Pulls it foul. Todd Cunningham, and then the pitcher spot due up. Henry Flores finds himself in a position where he could pick up a win,
which would be his first major league win.
Slow tapper. And Echeverria gets the out. Heck, last night the Braves had a guy pick up Andrew McKirahan, his first major league win, and Aroldis Vizcaíno, his first major league save.
Well, he has a good changeup working for him tonight. He's had a lot of Atlanta hitters off balance.
Todd Cunningham. Etch, long throw over McGee's head. Cunningham's headed to second. McGee, there's nobody there. There was nobody covering second base. Gordon had gone to back up the throw behind first. Obviously, Echeverria was in shallow left. Martin Prado was probably the next in line. Here's a look at the rotation.
And this is a tough way. There's Prado. He's the closest. It's going to be a tough error. We talked about Echeverria, 43 consecutive games without an error. But because Cunningham takes second on that throw, Echeverria is going to be charged with an error. It's just number 5 on the year. But there's a case where he's really penalized for the range he has trying to make a spectacular play.
So a hit and an error. And Pedro Ciriaco takes the at bat. Ciriaco has had a pretty good year as a pinch hitter. .255 on the season, .321 as a pinch hitter. Echeverria has it pop out of his glove, and something that we haven't seen in a long, long time. A pair of errors on back-to-back plays by Adeiny Echeverria.
Well, we just haven't seen that. It's like he has it as he transfers it to the throwing hand. That's when the ball popped out. He actually catches it, and there's the transfer, and the ball pops out. Wow, 2 errors on 2 consecutive plays from Etch.
Jace Peterson now. And now Flores goes from the bottom of the order right into the top with Peterson, Castro, and Markakis.
The first error was probably Echeverria just trying to force a play. It wasn't there. But you know what? Sometimes when you make spectacular plays, you think you're going to make all of them.
And you got a rookie pitcher on the mound in a tight ball game. Now in a tight spot.
It's only the second 2-error game in Echeverria's career.
Mark Sperry ready. Mike Dunn in Miami's pen. And he lost him. And they're loaded. And here comes Castro. And that's going to be it for Kendry Flores. Mike Dunn will come in. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. a thin bullpen. You look at the workload, and Tommy, you've pointed it out the last few nights that the short start stacking up. Jose Urena 2 innings last night. So Adam Conley went 3, Brian Ellington went 2, Brian Morris went 1.
Which brings up another question, and we'll find out tomorrow why Jose didn't go out there for one more inning. At least that just helps the bullpen. He had that one stressful inning, threw a lot of pitches, 38 pitches, but then he came back with a 9-pitch inning, and his total for the night 76 pitches.
Remember, Chris Narveson had an extended appearance on Wednesday, so you got to stay away from him. Brian Ellington has thrown a lot. He's thrown in 3 of the last 4 games, a total of almost 5 innings. And so Dunn is your guy. Now, Kyle Barraclaw is down there, but you wouldn't want to bring him in to make his major league debut, you would expect, in a spot like this. Bags loaded, 1 out. And Dunn gets a strike.
After Castro, you have a couple of left-handed bats in Markakis and Pierzynski.
Slow tapper third. Prado Fields got the out. Mathis with the catch on the force play. Nice play by both. That's a big out to get for Mike Dunn.
Good job by Prado. That ball took a funny little hop too right at the end, and a great job by Mathis to hang in there, catch, force out, get out of there. And a big out for Mike Dunn.
The Braves, watching that replay, may challenge here that Mathis's left foot was on the plate or not. It's a force play, so blocking the plate I don't think is in play here. Watch the feet of Mathis on this play. You're looking for the left foot on the plate. Oh, I don't think he was on the plate.
Wow. Right foot. Yeah, right foot's on. At least it was before he caught it. The umpire kind of got in the way.
I thought in that first replay that we saw right after the play, though, Tommy, that right foot came up off the plate. So we saw definitely that the left foot wasn't on the plate. And I don't think the right foot's on the plate either.
The right foot kind of comes off before he makes the catch. You can see and hear the crowd's reaction as they see it on the Giants scoreboard. See, it's on there. Then the heel comes up, and as he catches it, he's off.
And of course, the other look would be, did he tag him?
Which you could do that too.
He doesn't need to if his foot's on, but since his foot's off and he doesn't tag him, it appears. I think the Braves are going to tie the game on this play. And so New York taking a look at all the replays and all the views. You know, I don't know that I've heard this before in a ballpark.
The safe chant.
This is actually pretty clever. But I think agonizing for the Marlins.
They get the bat out of the way. He puts the foot on the plate initially. But then the heel comes up as he catches the ball.
He's safe. with a call overturned. And the game is tied.
It's almost one of those plays, Rich, that you hear the term first baseman can cheat a little bit off the bag, second baseman, shortstops do it, that maybe in the past you've gotten away with. But now with replay, you can't.
There's no cheating.
No.
You're right. Swing and a miss. You know, the other thing that is hard, it's hard for runners when they slide to it. It's hard for catchers in a play like that. The plate is flush with the ground, whereas a base is up, and you can keep your foot on that base anchored. Whereas you're feeling around, in that case, you're literally feeling around with your foot for that plate. Here's the 0-1. Foul back to the screen.
Different than a bag.
But a heads-up play by the Braves replay room to catch it and then to challenge it. It's Markakis against Dunn. The count's 0-2. Markakis 2 for 3, couple singles, 3 grand slams in his career. Major League Baseball from New York letting us know the overhead camera look was the definitive look in that replay sequence. Oh, 2. Fielder's choice and an RBI for Castro. Markakis fighting off pitch after pitch. Dunn is out in front 0-2.
This is something the Braves did a lot of early in the game. Remember all the foul balls? Fouled off a lot of pitches. Especially in that long inning for Jose.
Markakis had a long at bat in the 4th, fouling off a lot of pitches, and he eventually singled. A.J. Pierzynski on deck.
Markakis happy to sort of return home. Went to high school in Woodstock, Georgia.
Into center, that's a base hit. Siriaco scores, Peterson scores, McGee to third, out at third. The Braves may take a look at the play at third, but regardless of that outcome, 2 runs have scored. Markakis with his 3rd hit of the night.
Boy, he just kept battling. There's a slider. He stayed with it. He's having a terrific night. It's a close play over at third base that also is going to be under review.
Yeah, naked eye, he looks safe. And even on the replay, he looks safe. Bob Davidson right on the call there. Brave fans watching the replay.
Yeah, and so are these guys. They're saying, come on, New York. We just saw it on the big board here.
Super slow-mo from our friends at Fox Sports South. Foot's in long before the glove got there. And I'm not quite sure what's taking so long.
Nor am I. Unless they have a totally different angle than we've seen. But I think Bob Davidson still feels he's out. I can't let it go.
No, you can't. So call's overturned.
Boy, a couple of key challenges. Some big hits, some errors. It's been an interesting half inning. But a big one for the Braves.
At the corner, still one out. And Pierzynski fouls it back. RBI single in the fourth for Pierzynski. 5-3 Atlanta. 3 runs here in the 7th. 2 challenges, both overturned. Three and one.
Boy, another veteran left-handed hitter. Saw Markakis with his base hit. Pierzynski, he extended his hitting streak back in the 4th inning. He's at 12 in a row.
And remember, the inning was marred early by 2 Echeverria errors. So the Marlins opened the door just a crack. And the Braves have come running through with 3 runs. Was A.J. Pierzynski ever a teammate of Mark Zepchinski? Runner goes. Chopper over the middle. Echeverria goes to first and gets the outs. It's a pretty nice piece of hitting, even though it's an out by A.J. Pierzynski. With a runner on the move and a runner at third, he reaches out, just taps it in play. Gets an RBI. Braves with a runner at second and 2 outs now.
Well, Freddie Gonzalez had a little movement there. He wanted to stay out of the double play. He did. He knew he had a veteran hitter at the plate, and Pierzynski, who saw the opportunity, just tapped that ball. Hit it on the ground, picked up another run for his club.
Another chopper. Echeverria has to hurry. He does and gets the outs. The Braves 4 runs and a 6-3 lead.
career, longevity and success. He has spent over 15 seasons playing Major League Baseball. He has also spent time with 7 different teams. I had a chance to talk to him earlier today and asked him why he feels like he's been so successful over such a long amount of time. And he said, really, it comes down to a lot of luck. Yes, I have a drive to win. I put in a lot of hard work, but in this game, you have got to get lucky sometimes. And guys, he feels like that has happened for him. And by the way, you mentioned this earlier, a 12-game hit streak for AJ Pierzynski. He's got a base hit tonight and 2 RBIs.
Yeah, Jess, he's played on some really good teams, and it started for him with that World Championship with the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, there was an interesting article today in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about there's a lot of stuff about AJ Pierzynski over the years, that he's not a well-liked player, and probably so to his competition. Yet teammates, and Freddie Gonzalez, one of the first to back it up, said this guy just wants to win. And sometimes he gets on teammates about trying to win. Matt Marksberry comes in to pitch. But he's had a really nice career as AJ Pierzynski.
And he's played a lot more than anyone imagined he would, and a lot better than anyone imagined he would here in Atlanta this year.
Of course, the plan for the Braves was to have their highly touted prospect, Christian Bethancourt, do most of the catching. That hasn't worked out.
That one back behind second. Peterson runs it down. Dietrich out number 1. Dodge brings you Flashback Friday. Hashtag Flashback Marlins. Best picture on Marlins Live postgame. Here's Yelich, who's lined out, singled, and struck out. Jose Fernandez, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Fernandez was lifted after throwing 76 pitches. Julio Teheran, 6 2/3. He was in line for the loss. The Marlins rallied to get 3 runs off the Braves. They all went on Teheran's line. He walked 1, struck out 3. Yelich sends one out to center. Back goes Maben. Squares up on the track and makes the catch. Well, JT Realmuto comes to the plate. We were talking about in the middle of the game whether Realmuto was available or not, and he is. And Freddie Gonzalez is going to go to his bullpen and react to this. So Marksberry gets a couple of outs and exits to a West Kendall Toyota call to the pen. In the 8th, Freddie Gonzalez, scorecard in hand. David Aardsma takes over for the lefty Matt Marksberry. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton, Jessica Blaylock. There is some drama in the National League East tonight. The Nationals are at home, and in the 9th inning, they trail 5-4. The Rockies are on top. The Mets certainly see that. The Mets are in St. Pete, and they're an out away from beating the Rays. It's 4-3 Mets with 2 outs in St. Pete.
Guess the interesting story in that Nationals game is that Drew Storen came on to pitch an inning and gave up 3 hits and 4 runs. And gave up the lead.
Now Real Muto, banged up hand has kept him out for a few days.
And for Real Muto, it's the left hand, which probably bothers him a little bit more catching than hitting.
The Mets just won that ball game 4-3, so they win in St. Pete.
Boy, Familia with his 30th save.
Down goes Real Muto. Aardsma finishes Miami in the 8th. And making his major league debut now, Kyle Barraclough was in Double-A Jacksonville, acquired from St. Louis in the Steve Cishek trade. In 4 games with the Suns, was the closer, and he was 2 for 2 in save opportunities. And in his last 2 appearances, he struck out the side for the Suns.
He actually started the season, of course he was still with the Cardinal organization, started the season with the Palm Beach Cardinals up in Jupiter, moved on to Springfield in Double-A, and in 38 games you can tell this guy's a strikeout pitcher. 60 strikeouts in 43 2/3 innings.
You like it that the 2 veterans, Dee Gordon and Martin Prado, both came up, patted him on the back as he makes his major league debut.
Boy, and throws a nasty slider for his first pitch in the big leagues. That's pretty good.
Joey Tardoslavich, Adonis Garcia, Todd Cunningham.
You can see power guy, 96 after that slider.
His home and hometown Santa Clara, California, which is home to Santa Clara University. Steve Nash, Randy Wynn, Mike McFarland. The most bitter of rivals to Santa Clara is St. Mary's. Matthew Dellavedova. Well, that's where Barraclaw ended up going to school. He grew up in Santa Clara. He ended up going to school at St. Mary's.
Well, a good start to his career. He made some good pitches there to put away Tardoslavich. Get the ball. First major league strikeout.
St. Mary's has had some really nice major league players. Vaughn Hayes, Tom Candiotti. Checkers presents Marlins Live after the game. Kyle Barraclaw, major league debut, bottom 8. One and two to Garcia. One and two. Kyle Barraclaw. The breaking ball hit hard. Prado across the diamond. He's faced 2. He's retired 2. This was a 2-0 Braves lead after 4. The Braves were the first to score against Jose Fernandez, who was lifted after 5 after just 76 pitches. And Julio Teheran was cruising. And then the Marlins knocked him around and got 3 runs in the top of the 7th and suddenly had a 3-2 lead, which disappeared under a flurry of errors and challenges in the bottom of the 7th. And Kyle Barraclaw in his major league debut goes 1-2-3 through the Braves in the 8th. involved D. Gordon. Now let's go back to D. Gordon's injury. Head first slide, trying to beat the pitcher. Hurts his thumb. Sprained it.
This is great.
Now watch D in the dugout. See? Look.
Yeah, see? Feet first. And I was safe.
That was a bit of levity in what has been a tough night for Miami. Arodys Vizcaíno, who came in and closed last night. Picking up his very first save.
That was a night of firsts last night.
Andrew McKirahan getting his first major league win.
Thought it was nice, and it just shows the type of player he is. Martin Prado, who, by the way, singled in the 7th inning to extend his hitting streak to 6 games. But when that inning concluded, Barraclough was coming off the mound. Another base hit for Prado. Martin kind of met him halfway, right around the third base line, just to say, nice going. Major league debut. Welcome.
Now ICHIRO runs up to bunt, takes a strike. ICHIRO tonight is 1 for 3.
Just thinking about that gesture of Prado's, and then remembering comments that Chipper Jones made, that Martin Prado probably his most favorite teammate in his career.
Well, Chipper is here tonight along with the Braves alumnus.
I think that was club soda.
In the club seats. Actually, as ICHIRO lines it down the left field line, and it's caught. A diving catch by Cunningham. Robs ICHIRO of extra bases. That's a heck of a play. Vizcaíno, a shout out.
Well, I think that ball fooled Cunningham and was hit a little harder and sliced a little sharper than he thought.
He has always been rated as one of the top defensive outfielders in Atlanta's system.
Boy, that's a terrific play. He has to go back over near the line, extend, and certainly he robs ICHIRO and probably robs the Marlins of a run, because if that ball gets into the left field corner, Prado probably scores.
Echeverria now. What a big hit by Echeverria in the 7th, and what a roller coaster of an inning for Echeverria.
It is a tough inning for him.
His triple drove in 2. It tied the game. First 2 runs of the night for Miami. And then a couple of errors in the bottom half opened the door, and the Braves ended up scoring 4 times. Count is 0-2. It's a strike. Echeverria is out. Warren Henry drive of the game. This was the triple. Fourth triple of the season for Echeverria. And right now the home plate umpire, David Rackley, has tossed Dan Jennings. Hunter Wendelstedt doesn't have a lot of patience. This was strike 3 on a swing. And Dan Jennings comes out. You can't argue balls and strikes. That's an immediate ejection.
Remember, there have been a couple of those tonight. Remember the one on, was it ICHIRO? That checked his swing? It was a left-handed bat.
It's Gordon.
D. Gordon checked it, didn't even come close to swinging.
The fact that the ball hit the dirt is not consequential because first base was occupied. Cole Gillespie is up. Here's the side swing. And it looked like a swing. Gillespie. Well, Brett Butler for maybe just an out, now managing the team. Mike Goff still not with the Marlins due to a family emergency. Butler's been serving in that role since the last homestand. Gillespie getting the at-bat here in Jeff Mathis' spot. The 1-2. The 2-2. Gillespie down the right field line and foul. Two and two. Vizcaino misses up with a fastball.
Trying to get that tying run to the plate. Case of McGee on deck.
That fastball misses in until the Marlins do get that tying run up, and it is McGee. Nice at bat by Cole Gillespie. McGee struck out in the 7th, and now here in the 9th. Miami down to their last out with 2 runners on. Vizcaino last night closed in the 9th, his first major league save. And McGee hits a fly ball to center. Maben, and Atlanta wins it. A rough night for Miami tonight here in Atlanta. And the Braves make it 2 in a row against the Fish. Marlins baseball brought to you by your South Florida Honda dealers. By Kubota. For more information and to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. By Hialeah Park Racing and Casino.